back to another Backyard Professor video. Now that you're all dizzy. Hey, a guy can't be blamed for having fun with his camera. You know, you're just going to have to get through it. Just like I did this next chess game that I'm about to show you. I did an experiment in this chess game that I was quite excited about. Now let me give you just a brief little background before I start elaborating too heavy on this chess game. I played the black pieces and my opponent played the white. He opened with king pawn opening. I have been studying the Dutch defense as black. I don't do it here, but in the process of studying through Neil MacDonald's Dutch defense book, an excellent source on the Dutch defense, the three main variations that it has, and so on and so forth. And Jay Roby's chess YouTube site has some good videos on the basic philosophy and ideas of the Dutch opening. It's not an opening for beginners, I've been told that, and that's true, it's not. But being the way I am, I played through Alekhine and Bagaljubov, their game, which Alekhine said was one of the two best games he's ever played, against Bagaljubov and then the other one against Reddy, and neither one of them received the recognition he felt they should have. And he was pretty disappointed with it. So, but in that game, I suppose I had his idea in mind when I played this game, because I had just recently played it. And so I tried an experiment on my opponent. I tried to use some reverse psychology on my opponent in this game. And it just happened to work. Now, of course, my opponent isn't the best chess player, but he's not the worst chess player. He's pretty good. But I had a lot of fun with this game, so I'm anxious to show it to you. You can see he's pinning my knight to the king, of course. And I'm bringing my bishop out to say hello to his bishop on c5. And they're chit-chatting, and then his bishop steals my horse. So I decide, well, you know, horse thieves deserve death, so I kill his bishop. Take it with my b-pawn. I've got doubled pawns now on my king side here. You can see it's an interesting center thrust open. He gently brings his bishop up in front of his queen, and I decide I'm going to try to show that my bishop is superior to his bishop, and I take the long a6 f1 diagonal, cutting straight across, blocking him from being able to castle at this particular time. So he brings his knight over to e2. I bring my knight over to h6. And I know my nephew tells me, quit putting your knight on the rim, but in this instance, I was okay with it, because I'll show you what I'm doing with it. My opponent castles. I don't leave my knight there, I bring him up to g4. And now we're getting an interesting development. I am testing him to see what he thinks about my particular knight on this square. He's completely ignoring it, and he's coming after my bishop. He wants to minimize the influence of my bishop. I want to keep my bishops in this game. Now notice I have the two bishops right here, a6 and b6, and they are cutting a very large, very powerful swath right through the center of this board. That plays a significant element in this game. I decided instead of trading my bishops, I'm going to hang on to them. So he brings his bishop up to c3. I decide to see how he'll react when I bring my queen to h4. Now you can see immediately that I'm determined to carry on an attack in this particular game. I have two fantastic bishops here that's going to wreak havoc in his position. And I have a direct threat of a checkmate right now. I'm just curious to see how he's going to respond to this. Of course, he does the h3 push of the pawn, and I take my knight back here to h6, reserving the checkmate for a little bit later, if I can break through his forces. And he brings his a-pawn up to a4, seeming to come after my bishops, because it's obvious my bishops are in a very good position here. They're going to wield an enormous amount of influence, so I pushed my pawn on the c to kind of break up his pawns coming after my bishops. And then he does something extremely interesting here. This is where the game got fun for me. It took a bit of calculating, and I threw a reverse psychology on him. He zips his queen up here to d5, takes my central pawn, and now look at this incredibly interesting position. Every game of chess you play through can and should be instructive to you. Okay? There's no such thing as a wasted time playing through chess games. Jeremy Silman constantly propounds the proposition based upon the particular philosophical analysis that is given within the realms of chess understanding, that it is very necessary to play through as many Grandmaster games as you know how to. If you're not playing through Grandmaster games, you're not improving your chess. So go grab a collection of your favorite hero. I try to play through absolutely all of them. I've got dozens and dozens of different Grandmasters and their games. Here's what happens. His queen is threatening my rook up here on a8. He's centralized his queen in a really remarkable way. It's kind of a bold move. And I'm thinking at this point, I'm calculating like crazy. I'm looking at what my bishops can do, where my queen's at, the possible checkmate threat I have here with my knight, etc. And I'm thinking, if you give him enough rope, he will hang himself. So in the spirit of Agony, I did an experiment in this game. I thought, what if I give him both my rooks? Will he then relax and think that, yeah, I've got this guy made. He's going to wipe me out material-wise, and so I can coast into the end game and win the game. So what do I do at this point? I take his pawn on b4, eliminating the threat to my bishops, and I see if he'll try to take my rooks. Because my justification, my calculation is, notice I have a free knight for the pickup here, and I'm going to disrupt his defense of his king when I come in after him. If I come in from this direction, I have some fantastic opportunities here to destroy his king side. And I've got some great combination power with my queen and knight over here on the king side. I've got a great crisscross. So I'm going to see if he'll do it. And he does. He zips down here and takes my rook and puts me in check. Now, you know, in a tournament game, I probably wouldn't do this. In fact, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. I'd be way too nervous. This is kind of an experiment. I'm learning, I'm training myself, I'm trying to learn how to calculate better, and I did quite a few calculations. I sat here for 45 minutes trying to calculate this out before I finally decided, yeah, give him the rook. And of course, I have to move out of check, so I move my king straight up. And of course, being greedy, which is always a good thing in chess to do, he comes over here and takes my h8 rook. Now, I'm rookless. What do? The first thing I do is come down here and snap off that knight on e2, threatening his rook. He brings his rook directly in front of my bishop. Now, I got excited at this point because I've studied, and I am studying, and I have been studying, Victor Kharoushin's very interesting book called The Agony Block. And I thought, I've already experimented by giving him so much material that he's going to coast into this endgame thinking, man, I've got this guy completely wiped out. I can win this game. So I decided, it's now or never. I've never done an Agony block. So I'm going to give it a shot. I bring my bishop up to f3. Now the idea here, he can't take this bishop with the pawn. He can, but he shouldn't. Because my queen will then come over to here, and my knight will come into here, and it's a one game. So that bishop is perfectly safe there. This is called the Alicum block, when you block on the F file and stop that pawn from moving forward. It's a fun thing to be able to do. He brought his bishop back to D2. I brought my queen up to G5. Can you see what's going on here now? It's a very interesting thing. He saw what was going on, and he's trying to generate some play. He takes my pawn with the bishop, puts me in check. He owns my 8th rank. I don't have a thing on the 8th rank. He brings his bishop up and puts me in check. I move my king directly over, out of check. And in my opinion, he made a really stupid move. I don't know why he was doing this, but he took the pawn. I think what he's going to try to do here is come zippity-doo-dah. He should have put the rook over here and put me in check. You've got an open file here. For Pete's sake, man, use it. When you have an open file, use it. The rook to D1 would have been a terrific reply. In fact, I think he could have beat me had he done that. And I simply dropped my queen down here and went checkmate. When you have the lesson of this chess game is this, and I've been reading this in Jeremy Silman's materials as well. Sometimes you need to give up material, that is a pawn or even a power, if you feel like you can do a piece sacrifice. I did a double rook sacrifice, and it took his queen out of the game. She wasn't in the field of play, and I had 2 very powerful bishops, plus my queen, plus a knight as a backup, coming at him. I felt I had justification to get him to take both my rooks and take his queen out of play. And because I was willing to let some material go because I thought I had compensation, then I proceeded with my attack. It's okay sometimes to gain a stronger position by giving up material, but you have to calculate it. You have to understand there's serious risks. This kind of a risky game I probably wouldn't do in the tournament, but I thought it was fun nonetheless to show you the idea of you don't have to hang on to your material all the time. Now, don't give it away, you know, carefree without any compensation. But I hope this game kind of shows you some fun ideas with the chess imbalances on the board, as well as the tension between, do I keep material for a better position? Do I give it away for a better position? What's the balance between material and material sacrifice? This is a theme I'll explore more with other games, a lot of them from the Grandmasters games. Mikhail Tal was one of the very best at offering sacrifices that just leave you breathless, but he always had a reason. It's kind of fun to explore the Grandmaster games on this theme, so thanks for watching the video. Happy checkmating, and I will see you guys in the next video.